One of the new features we're adding this year is a look towards the future with a incorporation of a 7-day forecast capability for tropical storms and hurricanes. This is something the Hurricane Center has been looking at. Matter of fact, they've been issuing internal 7-day forecast since 2018, and they're going to continue that in 2019. And they're doing this to measure how accurate they can be and determine when to start making this part of the public product, which we expect will occur probably within the next 2 years. So in a nutshell, Hurrtrak is now 7-day ready. So if the Hurricane Center decided to start issuing 7-day forecasts next year or even this year, which they won't, then the system will be able to handle that. You'll be able to utilize that information. But also, we are allowing users this year to enter the extended forecast positions for day 6 and day 7 within this release. Of course, this is done at your own risk, but can provide valuable planning information. Let's see how this is done. Here's Hurricane Florence when it was positioned out in the Atlantic, and the 5-day forecast extends to this position. Of course, this is not giving any of the coastal areas any preparation information as far as potential wind speeds and impact further than 5 days out. So there are two options. First option is to use a tool, and everyone has this, to do a what-if analysis, set up what-if scenario. When you do that and you activate it, you can then bring up a screen that shows all of the positions, forecast positions for the storms out through 5 days. Then you can enter what you think the day 6 and day 7 position and wind speed will be. You may get this information from your own private meteorologist or perhaps some of the more reliable forecast models. So we're going to enter some numbers here just so we can show you how this works. We're going to say that it moves to 32 north and minus 75 west on the same trajectory, and we're going to keep the same wind speed at 110 knots for day 6, and day 7 we're going to keep it on the same track to make this simple and keep the same wind speed. When you do this and you hit OK, you're going to get a little warning with a red background here letting you know you're in a what-if scenario. Now, what-if scenario or what-if capabilities, we still see a 5-day forecast. However, several things have happened under the covers. You can plot the what-if forecast, so you can now see this track taking it in around Myrtle Beach or so, keeping the same wind speed, 125 miles per hour, although it says 127, it's just a rounding issue. But you can also at this point do other graphics, such as, for example, the wind band graph, and we sped that up for you. You can also do animations, for example. We'll come back here and we'll go ahead and pick animation. We sped this up also so you didn't have to wait for it, but it also affects animations. Let's pause that. But more importantly, in addition to the graphics, let me go back to that chart, you can run impact reports. So for example, let's run a report for a set of locations, and using that 7-day forecast, it's showing you what the potential wind speeds are and the timings, in this case for the hardest hit areas of Myrtle Beach, Cape Fear, Wilmington, Charleston, etc., which you would not be able to do if you just use the 5-day forecast. Now let me repeat, this is all done at the user's risk. I suggest at this point in time, until the Hurricane Center, or even after the Hurricane Center starts issuing 7-day forecasts, that these extended periods should really just be used for general planning and perhaps not specific actions. That's going to be up to each independent user on how they use this data. Okay, so now I've reset the system. I'm going to show you the second way to enter a forecast. Before we use the what-if capabilities under Tools, now we're just going to edit the actual forecast data. So you can go Edit, official forecast, and in this case it's advisory 32. We're going to work our way down to there because we're using post-storm analysis since Florence's position was further along. So we're going to enter into the actual data. I'm going to put the same data in so there's no confusion. Actually, you can even strengthen the storm a little bit if you want. We'll do that. And minus 80, and I'm not going to strengthen it there. Matter of fact, I should have weakened it a bit because it had moved inland. So that's what we'll do. And we're going to edit that forecast. So now when we go to the current position and we show the forecast track, now we're showing that track all the way in. Same as before, you can now run your reports. We'll run it for the same set of locations. The data will be very similar, if not exact, what we saw before using the other method. And you can run your animations, your wind bands, everything else. The difference is this data remains more permanent as opposed to the what if data, the what if forecast, which will be erased every time you close the program and restart it. And just to show you a few more examples, here's the county report. And if you want to use a thematic, again, this is using extended 7-day forecast data. So let me summarize or finalize or conclude by saying it's very key that you understand that this 6-day, 7-day forecast that you may be entering should not be used for anything more than a general planning purpose at this time until the Hurricane Center starts issuing the official Day 6 and Day 7 forecast, perhaps next year or the year after. So once again, this is an enhancement with a look towards the future, as well as for the folks who are able to also utilize that information today.